So I'd say it's probably 2 months of figuring out how to replicate the sounds. So let me try to think about this in more structured way. So like the scope of my idea, and I have to break things down like this I have to draw block diagrams for everything in my whole life.
I
Uh,
understand.
so so the scope is figure out how to replicate the sounds, right? And then quality would be, can you reliably replicate the sound? So I can do it once with any hardware, but can I do it 100 times and have it sound the exact same every single time? That's the determining factor for if you can make a product. And then cost. Is it going to be a practical application that you can make into a product, and at a price that is fair? I struggle with the whole $199 for a fuzz pricing outline that the market has generally accepted, because it's not really necessary. But if you go into distribution, then that is necessary. So is it going to be a fair price that I think is fair? And then procurement would be, can I build it in a decent time frame? If you get a call for 50 of these, are you gonna be able to do that in a fast enough time period? So I do all that before I start thinking about, okay, now this sounds like a garbage disposal. So now I need to conceptualize what that's gonna look like. So I don't start with the artwork and work backwards. I make the sound and then I listen to the sound and I try to think about, what does that sound look like? So I'll do a rough sketch. I'm by no means an artist, but I'll do like a rough sketch, and then I've got a couple different people that I'll go to, and I'll say, hey, give me your best shot on this concept, give me your best shot on that concept, give me your best shot on that concept. And they'll come back with stuff, and I'll say, okay, let's change this, let's change that, let's shift this around so that it lands really nicely on a knob, which like the artwork for this, one of the knobs comes right on the owl's
Right.
eye.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think this owl, I didn't have enough money to pay for the art, so I gave the artist what I could, and then the artists actually made it available to license, and they asked me, hey, is it okay if I sell this to other people to use? And I was like, as long as I don't put Tone Tuga on it, then I'm okay with that, I guess. But I was just getting started, so they got to cut me some slack on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, interesting you say about getting the sounds and whether you can actually replicate that sounds. I mean, one of your pedals is very interesting, the Prism Fuzz.
Yes,
I mean,
I've got that here also.
As a guitarist, having a pedal that's going to duplicate the comfortably numb solo tone, I mean, that is just, for any guitarist, it's like, take my money, give me it.
I found that the secret for me to make that sounds was in the tone knob. So the mod that I make to this has to do with being able to replicate the lower tone settings that David Gilmour would use on his Big Muff. But the problem is you have different pickups in your Strat than I do. Some people don't own a Strat. So the tone knob on this, the sweep is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if you take the tone knob and you were to go from minimum to maximum, it really sounds like you're operating a wah pedal. That's how far it goes. So the idea was I can take most any guitar and I can get close to that sound, using just the tone knob to try to turn that fine tuning into, that it's high end. There's not a lot of mids into it. It's got that kind of like a mid scoopy effect, but it's a Strat, so it has kind of like a mid humpy effect. And then he's playing into a Marshall, so it's kind of like a mid scoopy effect. And there's a whole lot of different pieces that you try to compensate to kind of make it flow. So and that was the first official pedal in the line, and that was what made people think, oh, hey, this is pretty cool looking. I kind of want to see what's the next thing that this guy's going to come up with.
Yeah. And what is the next thing that you came up with?
The next thing was the Clockwork. That was the second one in the line, and that was kind of intended to be my idea was, one, I want to make that disgusting noise from that from that real tube, but that's not the only sound that I need. I need something that's practical, so that would kind of be like a show finisher sound versus a practical playing sound. So the idea with that is it cleans up really, really well with your volume knob. So the idea is you set the gain to the highest you want it, and you set the volume to wherever you want it. And then you can go a whole set by just going on your guitar's volume knob, and you can go between a rhythm sound and a lead sound without having to be right in front of your pedal board.
Right.
So it gets that really good range.
Yeah, that's where I read on your website that you like small pedal boards, and that was one of the reasons you came up with the Clockwork, is
Yeah.
to get a lot of versatility from one pedal. So you don't have to have a huge pedal board.
Yeah, I think that it forces me. I don't know if a lot of other people would agree with this, but I think it forces me to be more creative if I have fewer pedals. And that doesn't mean, oh, these are my only 4 pedals, these are my only 5 pedals. It just, I keep hitting my mic, sorry.
That's okay.
It just means that, if I swap something out and I want to put a flanger on my board, well, then I'm going to play with that flanger for 6 months. And I'm going to get everything I can out of that pedal and not have, 8 or 9 other pedals running into it. I want to see the versatility that I can get out of that one box. So, if I buy a pedal from somebody else, I want to coax everything out of that pedal that I can. So I'm going to make that my only drive pedal for 3 months. And oh no, I want to play, some John Mayer stuff, or oh no, I want to play, metal. I got to try to figure out how I do that with that one pedal. So you really get a sense of the capabilities of what's at your feet by being forced to work with fewer tools.
And does that approach help you as a builder, do you feel?
I think it forces you to make less one-trick ponies, fewer one-trick ponies.
Interesting.
So, there are some fuzz. I would say fuzz is probably the best example of that. Or maybe the metal zone would be a good example of that. It does one thing really, really, really well. But really well is kind of a relative term for that product. But you're not going to coax many blues-ish tones out of there,
That's correct.
But with enough experience with that product, not experience playing, but with enough playtime with that one product, you might figure out how to make some different sounds other than the ones that people think are comical, and the ones that people are kind of memeing to death on the internet.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's very good. And then you've got the Clockwork Virus, which is the
oh yeah,
which is the limited edition artwork.
Yes. So this artwork was done for me by I'm not sure. It looks kind of washed out on my side. It's on the
fine,
website.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
This was a limited edition artwork done by a company called Pushing Daisies Press. You can find them on my Instagram. And I contacted them at the beginning of March. March was when people started to kind of catch wind of the coronavirus, and it started to be not so funny anymore. It started to be, oh no, this could really be a real threat. And I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but in the US we have a huge homeless problem. The cost of living here is so high that we've got a lot of people that are struggling every single day. And
we have it in the UK as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, when I work in downtown Charlotte, so when I drive to work, I drive past, I'm not even joking, the same 10, 12 people every single day on my way to work. And they've been there for years, same corners, same t-shirt, same shoes. And so when they started talking about shutting down public, what's the term for it? Basically, they were going to have to close down the homeless shelters because of exposure. You can't have a bunch of people clustered together. It's pretty much like a hostel, these homeless shelters. And so I said, oh no, if these guys can't go to these places, that's their outlet for food. That's their outlet for shelter.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I got onto Craigslist, and we found one of these doomsday prepper guys I'm not sure if you see the TV shows where people build bunkers and they've got months and months of supply of food and weapons and all this stuff. And met this guy out in the country, and he sold us 60 pounds of military rations. And yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And we partitioned that up into, I think we made 27 3-day supply packages. And so I made 27 of the clockwork viruses. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to give these out. I've already incurred the cost of buying all the food. I've already given to the people. This isn't a deal where, hey, you know, come do my raffle, and at the end of my raffle, I'll give the money away. It's no, I've already given it away. It's already gone.
Yeah.
If you buy the pedal, great. If you don't, well, you know, the money's already spent. I hope you do, but you know, if you want to help out, you know, this is, I've already done this. Just, you know, that was the concept behind that. So I did that. And I sent one to Ryan at 60 Cycle Hum. And after that video came out, all 27 were gone in the same 24-hour period. So it was good. You know, I put some of that methodology into the rest of the pedals that I make, where, you know, a percentage of what you buy is going to go for something good, something that's positive. And I think that kind of takes the sting off, you know, spending, you know, $150 or $200 on a pedal, because, hey, you know, if I buy this, it's not all for me. Something's going somewhere positive.
Yeah, I think that's commendable, and yeah, I think it's great, and yeah, absolutely superb to hear. So, but you've got a few other, you've got a lovely delay in your range, which
Yes.
which emulates the a tape delay sound, and that sounds lush, I have to say.
Thank you very much.
It's got a nice warble on it, on the delay sound, to emulate the tape delay.
Yeah, so that's the big one. That's the one that probably most people know me for now. It's pretty big. It's about, you know, twice the size of your standard pedal. But it is 2 independent delay channels with 2 independent preamp sections and 2 independent modulation sections.
And Michael, do they get that with the smaller unit as well? Is it on both models?
Oh, no. I was using the size as an example.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so because a lot of people email me and they say, hey, how big is it physically? And I say, hey, sorry, it's got a lot of analog stuff in there. It's kind of big, but the artwork makes up for it because it's pretty to look at. So the cool thing about this is, if you want to use one side as just a vintage style chorus, you can do that. No delay, no preamp. If you want to use one side as just your delay, you can do that with no modulation, no preamp. If you want to use both sides as just and by the preamp, I mean that's kind of like the Echoplex style preamp. If you want to use both sides as that, you can stack them into each other. And there's a lot of versatility out of kind of breaking those 3 sections into 3 separate functionalities.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can stack both delays into each other and get, you know, the rhythmic multi-head style feel that you would get, you know, it really works well with the Prism, because, you know, that's your David Gilmour style sounds, you know, with the multi-head delays. If you put the preamp into a more dirty amp, you know, it won't make your amp scream, but it will give you that little lift that, you know, you might recognize from like a Jimmy Page style sounds. So like I said, if you spend the time with just it, you're going to figure out, oh, wow, there's a lot of things I can do with this one box. And, you know, I like things to be multifunctional.
Yeah, well, the clips I've heard from it sounds fantastic. Really nice. So
thank you very much.
Really nice. And you've got a lovely crystal clear overdrive called the Songbird Overdrive.
Yes, I'd say that's probably my second most popular one. I think a lot of people really like the artwork on this one. It's kind of your dead bird.
Yeah, I was looking at the artwork, and I thought it was quite intriguing. It's because when I saw the name of Songbird Overdrive, I expected like a nice, pretty sort of bird, and then skeleton of a bird. It was.
I met the artwork comes from, there's a girl, and it actually goes over the edge on this one, which is pretty
Oh,
neat.
nice.
There's a girl who I met on Reddit who is the doctors that they do the little pipette for measuring genes and stuff,
Okay.
and she does that for farm animals. And she started taking embryos of chickens and injecting them with dye, and the result is absolutely beautiful, because you can see, obviously she doesn't do this with ones that are going to turn into living chickens. These are obviously ones that can't, whatever.
Yeah.
And I contacted her and I said, can I take one of your pictures and vectorize it and actually get kind of like that bird skeleton and use it as artwork? And she was like, yeah, absolutely, please do it. So that was where the concept for that came from. Was, the original intention was to put kind of like a pretty lively bird, but it's just, you see one thing, or rather I see one thing and I get super excited about it, and then I'm just going gangbuster towards that one concept. I just get obsessed with that one thought.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think we're all very similar when us pedal enthusiasts. We get very excited about little triggers like that. Whether it be artwork or it's just something that triggers our imagination, or and it just sucks us in, and we just want to buy it.
It's all encompassing. I gotta have it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what's next on the horizon for Tone Tuga?
Now that things are getting back to normal supply wise, I've been working on several different models that now they're all going to come out pretty quickly. But the important thing is that I'm only making 2 more dirt pedals. After that, I've made every sound that I have any interest in making. After that, I'm only going to focus on modulations. I'm only going to focus on reverbs. I'm only going to focus on delays. Dabbling in the digital side, which is totally new for me. I've had to reach out to a few of my other friends that I've made in the pedal business and say, hey, I don't want all the answers, but show me where to start to learn how to do these digital things. How does a microprocessor work, or or a microcontroller? How do you flash a microcontroller? Which ones interface well with this type of hardware? And I actually learned a little silly snippet from I'm sure you're probably familiar with Steve Demadash. He told me over the weekend to buy a Strymon power supply, and I said, why? And he said, well, it does something dumb where if you have it going into certain microcontrollers, it puts the controller into a power protective mode, so you could go through, it'll shut itself down basically.
Right.
And he said, you got to buy one of those, because if you make a product and you only test it with a certain type of power supply, and then you sell it to people that have a Strymon Zuma, and then they plug it in, and it will instantly not work. And you think, well, why? They obviously they know this. This is the most capable, arguably the most capable pedal company on earth.
Yeah.
Would be Strymon. And this little piece of knowledge that to be honest with you, I would have never figured it out, because I don't own any Strymon power supplies. Well, I do now, but
that's got me thinking, because my board's powered up with Strymon.
You never know. You
I've
never
got
know.
And 2 Ojis, so that's got me thinking now.
I got to see this board. It sounds massive. You got to.
It's you wouldn't like it. It's far too big. It's far too big. I'll send you some pictures. But
yeah, please do.
For me, it's because I play in a lot of covers and tribute bands. So if the band want to do a song with a particular effect in, I like to have it available.
Have it available. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
have one of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not quite of everything, but almost. So yeah, there's quite a few of the basic sort of effects and sounds on there. That's it's a tool. There are a few more little bits of bobs and pedals that I want to include on there. Like, for example, I've got a beautiful Digitech Mosaic.
Okay. Yeah. Good choice.
A 12-string effect. and it's in its box at the moment because I've got nowhere to put it on my board. But I bought that because I play in a Britpop tribute band.
Great.
And a lot of the Britpop bands, some of them were playing sort of 12
strings, yeah,
string Rickenbackers and things like that. So if the guys want to do a song by the Blue Tones or whoever, I've got the pedal. It's there.
Yeah, you can do it.
So that's where I come from with my take on a board. It's more of a sort of a practical sense and having the tools available to replicate the sounds of the bands that I'm trying to replicate and trying to be like, essentially, and the guitarist. So
I would say there's nothing wrong with either methodology, because everyone has been to the point where they buy the pedal train Terra, which is the 42-inch one, and then everybody says, no, I gotta cut it down and go for this, smaller one, the Nano, and then you end up somewhere kind of in the middle. But yeah, I love seeing these space stations of boards on the internet. It's just it just looks like so much fun.
Do you know what I think? For me, I'll probably go through phase. I'll go through phase, and at this minute in time, this is just right for me. The board that I have now, it's right for me. But I have no doubt in so many years' time that I'll probably go the other way, and I'll have a smaller board. And I think it's just how you feel at the time and how I feel at the time, the bands that I'm playing in, on what's right for me. Right this moment in time, really. So
probably makes it fun to have people come up to you, and I bet you get a lot of people that come to you to ask specifically about your board.
Absolutely, yeah. The band that I'm playing in now, which is Onside Britpop Tribute, the guy, one of the guys in the band, when he first saw my pedal board, he thought it was he said it looked like a very expensive train set. And so from that day forward, I was known as Hornby. That wasn't my nickname. But, small boards, big boards, I just, I think we all just love pedals at the end of the day. It's, so what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that affect guitar builders today and the actual industry itself? Because the industry is changing quite a bit, isn't it?
Yes, I think that we are currently I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with this, and I love when people disagree because I want to hear different opinions. I think that we are currently in the decline of the gold rush time period of effects pedals. So if you were, I would say like 2015 was probably like the peak of starting a pedal company. And so I consider myself to be very fortunate to have, by the time I launched in 2017, I had already acquired all of the how-tos of how to run a business like this. I really feel for the guys that are starting today that have really neat ideas and they have stuff to offer. But the saturation is ridiculous, and getting your voice heard is extremely difficult, and formulating an online following it's so much difficult than it used to be. I remember when you could put a video on YouTube of me drinking coffee and it would get 12,000 views, and now you're lucky if you get 12 views. It's extremely difficult to